There is a type of car that does not ask for your attention. It does not need to. It takes it. The moment it starts, the conversation in the parking lot stops. The moment it pulls up, people turn around without deciding to. The moment it leaves, there is a brief silence where the sound used to be. We are talking about the American muscle car. And before we go any further, I want to be clear about something. This is not a video about horsepower numbers or quarter-mile times or which one has the better suspension geometry. There are entire YouTube channels for that. This is a video about the people, about what it actually means when someone chooses one of these over everything else available to them, about the specific version of themselves they are buying when they sign those papers. Because here is the thing about muscle car owners that nobody says out loud. They did not buy a car. They bought a feeling. And that feeling has a name. And the name is different for every single model on this list. The Ford Mustang. The Mustang has been in continuous production since 1964, 60 years. That is longer than most American institutions that we consider permanent. Longer than the careers of every person watching this. Longer, almost certainly, than the relationship your parents had with their first car. The Mustang is not just a car at this point. It is an American cultural artifact that happens to have an engine. And the person who buys one knows this. They know it the way you know a song that your grandfather used to sing. It is in the background of things. It is part of the furniture of American life in a way that no other car on this list quite matches. The Mustang owner is the most diverse group on this entire list. There is the 22-year-old who bought a base V6 and spent the next 3 years modifying it one part at a time. There is the 45-year-old who finally bought the GT he wanted when he was 17 and is not going to apologize for it. There is the 60-year-old who had a 67 Fastback, sold it to pay for college, spent decades regretting it, and is now making things right. There is the woman who bought the Mach 1 because it was the most aggressive thing on the lot, and she found the hand-wringing about whether women should drive muscle cars genuinely amusing. What all of them share is this. The Mustang owner chose the one with the longest story. They did not just buy a sports car. They bought into 60 years of American mythology, and they are aware of this. And they are absolutely fine with it. There is something else about the Mustang owner that is worth noting. They park it where people can see it, not aggressively, not performatively, just where people can see it. They know what the car does to a parking lot, and they have made peace with that knowledge in the most honest possible way, which is to simply use the information. The Chevrolet Camaro. The Camaro owner has a complicated relationship with the fact that the Mustang exists, specifically with the fact that the Mustang sells more. Specifically with the fact that the Mustang has been selling more for most of the last 60 years. This is not something the Camaro owner will bring up. They will not bring it up because they have decided that sales numbers are not the correct metric. The correct metric, they have concluded, is which car is actually better. And by that metric, their metric, the Camaro wins. Handling, track times, structural rigidity, engine options. The Camaro is, by a significant margin in several measurable categories, the more technically accomplished car. The Camaro owner knows this. They have done the research. They will tell you about it if the subject comes up, and they have a gift for making the subject come up. What the Camaro owner will not tell you is that none of this matters to them quite as much as they claim, because they did not buy the Camaro for the lap times. They bought it because it is the underdog. Because there is a specific type of person who, when presented with the more popular option and the objectively better option, chooses the objectively better option specifically because it is not the more popular one. This person believes they know something that other people do not. The Camaro is their evidence. The Camaro was discontinued in 2024, which means every Camaro owner in existence now drives a limited edition vehicle whether they plan to or not. Watch what happens to the Camaro owner's self-concept over the next 10 years. Watch how the discontinuedness becomes part of the story. I own the last generation. They do not make this anymore. The underdog narrative just became a collector narrative, and the Camaro owner did not have to do a single thing to make that happen. The Dodge Challenger. The Challenger is the largest, heaviest, and least maneuverable car on this list. It has the turning radius of a mid-size cargo ship. Parallel parking one is an event that requires planning, patience, and an audience. The steering is heavy. The visibility over the hood is limited. The fuel economy is a number that most people associate with recreational vehicles. And the Challenger owner does not care about any of this, not even a little. Because the Challenger owner made a decision early in the process that the other muscle car buyers did not fully commit to. They decided that if you are going to do this, you are going to do this completely. No compromises, no apologies, maximum everything. More cubic inches, more weight, more presence, more everything. The Challenger is the muscle car for people who looked at the Mustang and the Camaro and thought, those are both excellent, but they are also both somewhat trying to be sports cars, and I do not want a sports car. I want a muscle car, a proper one, something that communicates a specific message and communicates it without ambiguity. The message is, I am aware this is impractical, and I have decided that impracticality is not my primary concern. There is something deeply American about this. The Challenger owner is not buying efficiency. They are not buying agility. They are buying the physical embodiment of the idea that more is more and bigger is better. And if you have a problem with that, you are welcome to take it up with someone who asked. The Challenger is basically a philosophy in the shape of a car. The Challenger Hellcat takes this further. The Hellcat has 717 horsepower in the base version, 717 in a car that weighs over 4,000 pounds. This is not engineering solving a problem. This is engineering deciding that a problem is not the right framework. The Hellcat owner looked at the regular Challenger, which already had more power than most people will ever use in their lives, and said not enough. And they were right. Within their own system of values, in which the correct amount of power is always slightly more than you currently have. The Dodge Charger. The Charger is the muscle car that decided to be reasonable. 4 doors, actual back seat, a trunk that fits things. An adult could use this car to live their adult life without making significant structural accommodations. And the Charger owner is aware of exactly what this means about them. They wanted a muscle car. They genuinely, authentically wanted one. They wanted the sound and the presence and the V8 and the feeling of driving something that is not trying to be sensible. But somewhere between the wanting and the buying, they had a conversation with themselves about logistics, about car seats, about road trips, about whether backing out of a parking space with zero rear visibility is a daily activity they want to commit to for the next 7 years. And they found the solution. 4 doors, muscle car, you are welcome. Now, here is what makes the Charger owner interesting. They made a compromise. They know they made a compromise. And they have constructed an entire position around why the compromise was actually the correct choice. The Charger is just as fast, has the same engine options, is actually more practical. Why would you get the Challenger? They will ask you this question. They have thought about this question at length. The answer they have arrived at is that the Charger was the correct decision. You get the sense they have given this answer many times. The Mustang owner and the Challenger owner both find the Charger slightly suspicious. Not the car. The reasoning. The Chevrolet Corvette C8. The Corvette is the only car on this list that actually won. Not the argument. The whole thing. The Corvette looked at the field of American performance cars, moved the engine to the middle, made the result faster than most cars that cost 3 times as much, and priced it starting at around $66,000. What does it mean to win? In this context, it means the C8 will run 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, and then you will park it next to a Ferrari at a Cars and Coffee, and the Ferrari will feel slightly insecure about this. That is winning. The C8 Corvette owner is not quite a muscle car owner in the traditional sense. They are more like someone who walked into a muscle car store and accidentally came out with a supercar. The mid-engine layout, the performance numbers, the flat-bottom steering wheel, none of this is muscle car psychology. This is sports car psychology that happens to have an American badge and an American price point. But the Corvette owner's relationship with the car is still deeply American, still personal, still tied to a version of a dream that started somewhere around age 11 or 12 when they saw one on a highway and something clicked and did not unclick. They just got the dream with better cornering ability than anyone expected. The Mustang Shelby GT500. The GT500 is what happens when you take the Mustang and remove the part where you think about whether this is reasonable. 760 horsepower, Supercharged 5.2-liter V8. 0 to 60 in around 3.5 seconds. Handling that belongs on a track. A price tag that starts around $80,000. This is not a sports car wearing Mustang clothes. This is Carroll Shelby's vision taken to its logical conclusion in a world with modern engineering. The GT500 owner is not the same person as the base Mustang owner. The base Mustang owner is buying 60 years of American mythology. The GT500 owner is buying the specific chapter of that mythology where someone decided that the normal version was not enough and went back to do it again correctly. They are also buying the name Shelby. There is a weight to that name in American car culture that functions the way certain last names function in certain families. It means something specific, and it has always meant something specific. The GT500 owner knows exactly what they bought when they bought that name along with the car. They consider both purchases sound. Now here is what all 6 of these people have in common. And this is the part where I want you to stay with me for a moment because it is the only part that actually matters. None of them bought a car, they all bought a moment. The specific moment when they were young enough that the thing they wanted and the thing they were allowed to have were not the same thing. The moment when the car went past and something registered that did not unregister. The moment that stayed when everything else from that period of their life is gone. The Mustang owner bought the summer they were 17, and someone drove by in a fastback with the windows down, and for 10 seconds, everything else went quiet. The Camaro owner bought the argument they had with their older brother about which one was actually better, and the position they took and never moved from. The Challenger owner bought the decision they made at some point that they were going to stop being reasonable about at least one thing in their life, and this was going to be the thing. The Charger owner bought the version of that decision that also lets them make the school run without a second car. The Corvette owner bought the promise they made themselves on an afternoon that probably nobody else remembers, but they do. The GT500 owner bought the idea that if you are going to do something, you should do it the way Carroll Shelby would have done it. Every single one of them was told at some point that this was impractical, that it was too much, that there were smarter options, that the money could go somewhere more sensible, that it made no economic sense. Every single one of them signed the papers anyway. And here is the thing about that. The version of yourself that wants a muscle car has wanted one since before you had any money to buy one. It waited. It is patient in the way that real things are patient. And when you finally got to the moment where buying one was something you could actually do, it was still there, unchanged. Still exactly what it was when you were too young and too broke to do anything about it. That is not a midlife crisis. That is not a bad financial decision dressed up in nostalgia. That is a person keeping a promise to themselves across 20 or 30 years of life getting in the way. And the sound that comes out of the exhaust when you start it for the first time in the dealership parking lot is the sound of that promise being kept. Drop it in the comments. Which one is yours? And if you have never owned one, drop it anyway, because you already know which one it would be. You have known for a long time